hosts and those trying to, take you navigate, and the experts are here. I'm really looking forward to knowing more. I think, we have a lot of students at Ahmedabad University from all our different schools across India. And it's so amazing to be interacting with all the amazing, people on the group and the panel both. So let me do a bit of formality and introduce you to the panel over here. So Professor Parag Patel, who's a PhD from Gujarat University and also the Senior Associate Dean at the Amrut Modi School of Management. Welcome, Professor Patel.
Thank you.
Bhavya, we all have been talking to you for a bit now. Bhavya is a fourth-year student at the university, majoring in social and political science and with a minor in environment and sustainability. That's really interesting, Bhavya. And our very own Parth, who has, promised that next time we'll have Fafra Jalebi at our desk when we're attending any sessions. Parth has done a master's in international education from Harvard, and he's the director, office of undergraduate admissions and financial aid. The person whom we connect to the most, in terms of admissions. So I'm going to hand it over to Parth. He would do a bit of introductions and then the rapid fire starts from my end.
Thank you so much, Pragati. And thank you everyone for joining, and thanks the Outreach Collective to do this. We are very happy to sort of share a little more with you and also take the opportunity to invite all of you to the campus. But I'll start a little bit by telling a little bit about how the university began and what are we trying to do at Ahmedabad University before the rapid fire starts. So we were set up in 2009 as a private university under the Gujarat State Private Universities Act. And the purpose was really to foster continuous progress of self and society. And this was set up by the Ahmedabad Education Society, which was set up in 1935 at the behest of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel and a few industrialists, G.V. Mavlankar, who was the first speaker of the Lok Sabha, Kasturbai Lalbhai, and all of them actually wanted to bring good education to Ahmedabad. And while it was set up in 2009, the purpose was that how can we really create a university of the future? Then in 2015 to 2019, the university leadership went through a significant rethink about, how can we really create a comprehensive research university in India? And mostly in India, the universities that had been created were domain driven, and there were no comprehensive research universities, at least in the private space. And of course, from 2000 onwards, we've seen other universities like this being set up in India. And the idea was that how do we create a comprehensive research university? So we, at that point of time, sort of got together and set up an exciting interdisciplinary boundaryless schools. And these schools were didn't have departments. The idea was to really be able to do interdisciplinary research. And at that point of time in 2019, we also set up a 4-year undergraduate sort of interdisciplinary programs. But way before the NEP sort of came and said that we should have 4-year programs. And the idea was that students get both depth, breadth, as well as the ability to think in an interdisciplinary way to become independent thinking citizens who can go on to engage with complex problems in society and are also compassionate leaders for the future. And the undergraduate program at the university actually offered students all of these things. So they offered them, we offer them interdisciplinarity, breadth, depth, choice, flexibility, and experiential learning to be able to build values like compassion, rigor, and also we realize that students today, whatever universities are teaching them, this is going to be redundant in a few days, in a few years probably, and therefore the key is to make sure that they develop capability in learning how to learn. So that's what the university, that's the background I wanted to sort of share before we sort of go on to the questions. So I'll hand it back to Pragati.
Thank you so much, Parth. I am really excited to know more about the university. Some of our students there speak really, well about the programs there. Uh, my question is for Parth first. Ahmedabad University has redefined liberal education in India with its flexible interdisciplinary approach. You've already talked about that. How do you see this model preparing the students not only for the current job market, but also for leadership and civic engagement? Students are looking for much more beyond, being preparing for the job market. Do you want to comment on that?
So I think what's interesting is how we went about sort of thinking about this. But what I would like to say before that is, the future of work is really changing, and what is happening in the world outside. It's a fast changing world where there are many new skills, capabilities, and experiences that young people need to build to be able to sort of you know uh, cope and thrive in this changing world. But what is changing in the world, it's very important to talk a little bit about what is changing in the world and what kind of skills and capabilities should the education system prepare them for. So I think there are four big trends that we see changing in the world, and I think these trends are very important to understand, and therefore then build curricula or build structures, programs that help young people cope and thrive. So there are four. I'm going to talk about four. I'm sure there are more, but one is the new technologies and the opportunities that is coming up for young people, and this is often driven by biology, computer science, AI, ML, but also by ethics and business models. So these are all changing very fast, and therefore there are lots of new things that young people will have to cope with. And my best example is actually when we went to college, many of us, there were no mobile phones at that point of time, and in 30 years everybody has to deal with this new tech called mobile phone. A similar one that I've been looking at is flying cars. We've not yet seen too many flying cars or taxis in the world, but very soon these are going to debut. There are already flying cars which are testing in a testing phase currently, and these students will have to deal with changes that are happening like these. There's going to be technologies like CRISPR-Cas9. There are going to be many new things which are going to come in their world, which is going to define how they are able to deal with this new technology. The second is really uncertainties that we see, and I think the big uncertainties that students are going to have to deal with is climate change. We've now gone to a stage where we've crossed the 1.5-degree increase in temperature since the industrial age, and there are going to be lots of changes that these young people are going to see. The second big thing is really, new pathogens, new viruses, which are going to affect human beings in this era. And the third big thing, third sort of uncertainty is social unrest and wars, which we see now everywhere. And we've just, woken up from a scare in our country as well. And these are, uncertainties that the young will have to deal with. The third big trend is rapid urbanization. I think we are all going through this phase where everybody is becoming more and more urban. And the fourth big trend that I see is really machines taking over. So there's going to be lots of jobs which are going to be lost to AI. In fact, a very interesting report says that by 2030, one third of jobs will be lost to automation. So what will young people need to do? And I think what we thought with these kind of changes was, how do we build perspectives in young people and help them to solve complex problems in the world outside? So first is, a university must help them to understand and engage with the idea of complex problems. And this is very difficult. It's not easy for any university, because all our textbooks are written for experiences that have happened probably 10, 15 years back. So how do you bring in complex problems into the classroom? And how do we build in young people a desire to solve problems, a desire to be compassionate, to care for the world around them? And I think these are the things that sort of we looked at as we sort of said, how do we build a different kind of a program or a curriculum? And this is it took a few years to really design this, but the idea was that we wanted young people to participate in the classroom, and this is also participate deeply. So we built structures, post designs in such a way that students had to participate, had to attend, and they had to also, therefore, we had to also change how assessment was, because assessment for a long time in India has been, you take an exam, get a degree. So can we redo that? Can it be really about how you do things in the classroom? Can you do projects? Can you learn on the job? And how can all of these be integrated? I think that's where we sort of made a effort. And I think it's really, and when you talk to Bhavya, you realize many of these things, we feel are really now working, and they are really enjoying the the rigor and the stretching of their mind, which we hope happens through this curriculum.
Thank you, Parth. Actually, the world has changed so rapidly over the last 4, 5 years that every year when we sit with students and do the admissions and college counseling, we realize that things are completely different from what it was a few months back. So very right, we need to adapt to the changing needs of the world and the job market both. My next question is for Professor Parag. Um, the undergraduate program structure at the university allows for customizable learning pathways across all disciplines, right? How do you explain this flexibility to students and parents who are so used to rigid academic tracks? We would get parents in our offices who would say that, okay, my child wants to do medicine, physics, chemistry, math. My child wants to do engineering. I'm saying the reverse, I'm sure. Or humanities, they're structured and rigid pathways. Uh, there's a handful, who want to go to the US where they are looking for flexibility. But you've brought the flexibility right into, the Indian ecosystem. Do you want to comment on this?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, thank you for having me. It is always a
Most
pleasure
welcome,
to,
sir.
yeah, it is always a pleasure to interact with, interesting people who are kind of more important than parents. Because my daughter is now in the first year in a law program. And, she believed her counselor like 5x more than me. And I really had to work hard to make her listen. And she would always say that, my counselor was saying this, we should look up to this college, this is a very unique proposition, so on and so forth. So thanks for having me. See, when I was in college in last century, my program got decided based on 100 out of 100 marks in accounting in 12th grade. That you are so good in accounts and therefore you should do BCom. And, by the grace of God, everything fell in place. But imagine that if I didn't enjoy it, there was no way out. I would have stuck with it for life. So taking cues from our own experiences, where we had to face rigidity and then make it work, we said, let's, give this power of making a decision or deferring the decision of the choice of major by 2 years. And taking that as the base, we designed a brand new program starting 2016, which got operational in 2019, where students can come in undeclared and declare their major by the end of fourth semester and still finish the program in time. They can declare a major and then even change their major and still finish the program in time. This 2 years is a huge power to the students, and most of the students are not certain as to which major they want to pursue. Most of them come with more than one major in mind. They are leaning a bit more towards one than the other, but there are always more than one major in mind. So when we launched this program in 2019, we thought that we are ahead of time, and there'll be no takers. But to our pleasant surprise, 40% of the students remained undeclared in the very first year. And today, in the steady state, about 60% of the students do not declare their majors and declare it anytime between second to fourth semester and comfortably finish the program in time. So this is the first one. The second one is that barring first year, where they have to take the foundation program and there are some scheduling constraints, because it is very interdisciplinary in nature and it involves major students from across all the majors at the university. Um, the flexibility is less, but once they come into the second year, they make their own timetable. Literally, so we run one semester ahead. So in monsoon, students register for the winter, and winter they register for the next monsoon. Just like no two students will have the same fingerprints, no two students will have the same timetable. So even if they are coming from the same city or the school, pursuing the same major, they may have a completely different study plan and therefore the schedule. So, because the requirements are clearly laid down and students know what all they need to take, which all courses they need to take, how many credits they need to earn. But they take it in different sequence and at different times of the week or different times of the day. That much flexibility. So if a student decides that I don't want to register for any course offered at 8 o'clock, or I don't want to register for any course which is offered after 4:30, it may be possible 80% of the times. There could be one odd core course with only one section scheduled at 8, and I have to do it. But most of the time, students will have a choice. So it's really flexible. And they can, some students are more productive in the evening, or I want to go to the gym in the morning. They can plan their schedule accordingly. Third thing is, there is a huge element of interdisciplinarity, not just in pedagogy, but also in design. So, every major is also offered as a minor. So today we have 25 majors, we have 25 minors. Give or take one, because sometimes a new minor is just about to be offered. So it's 25 plus minors. And students use it to their advantage. So students may pursue a minor to enrich their major. Sometimes students may pursue a minor to pursue their interest formally. And sometimes students may not take a minor. So it's an option. It's not a requirement. So students may be very clear that I want to pursue this major, and therefore I'll use all my 7 electives to do more courses in that area of major. Sometimes students may say, no, I will explore 5 different courses from 5 different divisions and just browse rather than formally taking a minor or something. So it's a very, very flexible design, right from choosing of a major to a combination of major and minor, to day-to-day schedule. There are requirements like volunteerism, internships. There is an advisory. There is no rigidity that you have to do an internship in second summer. We say it is best done in second summer, but you can also do it in third or fourth summer. There are students who would pursue 8 internships. They would do all 4 summers to 3 winters. They would do 1 or 2 remote internships, which demand about 7-8 hours a week for like 12 weeks. So all kinds of flexibility is available to the students to make the most out of their 4 years at Ahmedabad University. I'll stop here. I mean, I can go on and on, but I know there are several questions, so let's take them one by one.
Thank you so much, Professor Patel. It is really amazing, when we give students the choice to take a decision, to design their own future, to plan something, for themselves. That mere fact that they have a choice makes it a very powerful experience for them. And of course, they end up choosing what they really enjoy. So let's move on to Bhavya. Bhavya, we are going to, ask you some very fascinating questions. And you are already so popular. We've heard so much about you when we began the session. Now we're hearing that Ahmedabad University offers numerous opportunities that go beyond what is listed on the website. What has been that one transformational experience you've had here that changed the way you think or approach life in general? Can you think of that one experience that transformed how you are and who you are?
One experience that transformed
One.
that happens usually in films and not in real life, that completely changes mind. But I think a lot has happened in this university that I never imagined would really happen. Like, for example, I this is one of the proudest thing and the coolest thing that has happened to me in the university that has given me a lot to think. I met former president of Ireland, and I was in a panel with her. I got to talk about climate change and feminism with her, and that really shifted my worldviews about climate change being a policy issue to being a politics issue, and how person like her at the biggest post in the country, she was helming and working to bring climate issues to the forefront. So this kind of opportunity, this was really a one time, like once in a lifetime opportunity to sit down with the president, talk to her, and that really changed my views around a lot of policies and a lot of feminism and just things that she talked about with me. But like I said, there have been plenty of opportunities that I've got in this university. This another one that I'm really proud to talk about is the one that is not really related to the university. The university doesn't have a urban planning major or minor, but luckily for me, there are professors who worked on urban planning, and I got to intern with them. I think that particular internship defined me as a person because it led me on the field. I was on the field for 3 weeks and just outside for 8 hours. And I was interviewing people. I was talking to the municipal government. I was talking to regular citizens. This particular experience gave me so much to think about, and so much, and it made open what I assumed to be already established facts to critical thinking. I could question things like what is good for the city. If our cards really the option that citizens should be choosing or not. Should we build roads or not? So things like that that define what my worldviews are currently, what I stand for, really came from these opportunities which are not really part of technically my education. They are not supposed to be there to fulfill my 4 year degree, but they became essential to me to define my my complete opinions, my what I'm going to pursue in my life. I'm doing an SPS social and political science major and environmental science minor, but because of the particular internship, I'm sure I will have urban studies as my master's in the next coming years. So things shifted a lot for me because of these opportunities that I got in the university, which are not really part of the curriculum that was there. So yeah.
Wow, Bhavya, having the opportunity, to interact with the dignitaries or, politicians from different countries, that is not something that young people, always
Yeah.
have the opportunity to do. So, way to go. Really, really impressed. And these experiences will stay with you for a long time, interning with a professor. It's really amazing to get those opportunities and to learn from the experiences. Very few universities, especially in the Indian, context, have those kind of opportunities. So the next, question goes back to, Parth. Uh, like, for example, these are the things which we don't see on the website, isn't it? So there's so many misconceptions and challenges that we face when we are conveying things about universities to students and parents. I'm sure you also face certain, challenges when you're trying to communicate how Ahmedabad has a very unique approach. How do you do that with, counselors and applicants? How do you address things which are not there on the website and that sometimes leads to misconceptions? What are the things that you can do or you already do to address them for people like us who want to learn more and who want to, talk about it more to our students and parents?
Yeah, it's a difficult question, Pragati. It's always something that happens over time, and I think it's not just that there are things here that we want to talk about. It's also we see ourselves always as a university in beta stage. We are experimenting, we are doing things. There are times when one of the most exciting things about me is how much we are experimenting while at the admissions office itself. And I think that's actually how the university functions as a whole. And we don't say, okay, now we have decided everything and this is how it is. There's always an opportunity amongst the staff as well as the leadership, even among the student, to come and say, okay, this is not working very well. Can we actually change? And there is a possibility of people to come in to say, okay, let's rethink this. And I think that makes it much more exciting because even my team, for that matter, they feel excited working at Ahmedabad University because there's opportunity to contribute, there's opportunity to think about different things, and we in large groups we sort of discuss what will this mean, and does it really follow our overall philosophy towards creating more perspectives and have people think broadly, deeply, both of these. Now, from a selection perspective, I think the big misconceptions that sort of happen are, one is a lot of belief is there that there is a cutoff, which determines where students get in or not. I want to sort of say that we are very holistic in the way we select people, and it's dependent on academic scores, it depends on essays, it depends on co-curricular, extracurricular activities, and the personal interaction that they do with two faculty members. Now, all of these things matter. And yes, academics does matter a lot, but it's not that academics alone will determine things. And the best example I can give is we've had students who've got above 90% in their 12th and great scores on entrance exams, who have been rejected. And at the same time, there have been students who have been 75% in 12th who've been selected because they actually bring much more and they've thought about their own future. But another very big misconception that's there is what happens when parents come to me and say, you're giving so much choice, will students be confused? Okay. And I think this is something which is so much an idea of the old. Give them only one option. They shouldn't, then they don't have to decide. But I think we are in a world where young people are wanting to learn different things. And at 17, how many of us really know, as Professor Patel also said, he did accounts because he did well in 12th in that subject. But you often go on and explore. Many of us have changed careers. So, we have today a lot of students who come in undeclared. And as he said, 60% of the students today are either not declaring a major or they're not declaring even a degree. That is a great opportunity, I think. And if, many of you are able to talk about this to students, that you can actually go in and explore. This is a very unique thing in Indian education today, that for up to 2 years, you can actually pursue different things and it still gets added to your overall. I'll give you a very interesting example. I did 6 months of BSc before deciding to do BCom. And I had to take a year off. Half a year off, half a year of BSc, and then start my BCom. In Ahmedabad University, that would be very, very, seamless. I could have directly done BCom, even though I'd done half a year of BSc. That's an opportunity. And I think third one that I want to talk about is, a lot of people ask me, is this university good for arts or sciences or management or engineering? And we are so interdisciplinary that I think the question is sort of, misformed in a way. We aren't good for either one of these. I think we are truly interdisciplinary, and students take so many courses in other domains that they get a very rich flavor. I know students, for example, who are doing a major in life sciences with a minor in psychology. Psychology students who are doing a minor in human resource and organization and marketing. Marketing students doing it in psychology. In fact, there are students in engineering who are doing a minor in management. And at the same time, sometimes it's even just related to not a complementary skill, but it's also related to just interest. There's a student in life sciences who's doing a minor in Sanskrit studies. Why? Because she took a class, enjoyed it, and decided to do a minor, which is 6 courses in that domain. So I think, this opportunity is very unique, and I would love if more students were to just explore it. And the last one I want to say, which is very simple, and I mentioned it to some of you at the beginning, I think people need to visit universities to really understand. The old idea of going to a website or hearing from somebody is not good enough. Unless you visit 5 universities, you're never going to know which one is the one that works for you. And I think if more of you can encourage people to travel, even take holidays to these cities that they are exploring, I think it will be a big change in Indian education for counseling, especially because I think people need to go to a university, only then they'll really know.
So true, Parth, when we visit a university, we get a vibe or feel, all of us as human beings have that gut instinct where we kind of get a feel. And, like so many of you have talked about Bhavya and how they met him during the tour. Even after a long time, they remember what the tour was about. Janvi was talking about, the cafe there and, what kind of food she ate. I think when we visit, we learn a lot about it. I wish, at some point we had the exposure to multiple subjects together or multiple disciplines together so that we could make up our mind, that what works better for me, where am I fit, or where does the program fit into my life, you know, uh, rather than just randomly exploring what is out there and going by the flow. So keeping that in mind, my next question is for you, Professor Patel. Like, I'm aware that, Ahmedabad University has a foundation program that integrates 6 domains of knowledge, emphasizing critical thinking and societal engagement. Could you share how this shapes the students' intellectual habits and values? We are constantly talking about things beyond the curriculum on this, discussion, if you see. So do you want to talk about how does it shape them?
Yeah, thank you for asking this question. Um, we have really invested a lot of time in developing this foundation program. And today it has really become a big differentiator for us. Apart from great outcomes and impact, um, that we are a member of AACSB International, which is Association to Advance Collegiate Schools of Business. So there are 1,700 member schools from across some 30-40 countries. And every year, AACSB International recognizes 25 innovations that inspire. And our foundation program was recognized in 23 as one of these 25 innovations that inspire. Times Higher Education Asia recognized us because of foundation program and few other interdisciplinary learning initiatives with a high commendation for teaching and learning strategy of the year. But apart from that, why did we design the foundation program? So, all universities today feel that they are doing something with regard to interdisciplinarity. But it's shades of bright white to a jet black. That's the kind of range we are talking about when it comes to interdisciplinarity. Very little, maybe on paper, to very, very deep in letter and spirit both. So I think we are at the other end of the spectrum. So usually what happens is that universities would allow students, literally they use the word allow, students to take 2 courses from engineering, 2 courses from arts, 2 courses from science, and say that our system is very interdisciplinary. But the onus of integration is on the students. So we took it on us that let's flip this and take the onus of integration on us, because you are admitting undergrads who just straight come from the school and they're 17, 18-year-olds. So we identified 6 domains. 2 of them are skills, which is communication and data science. 2 of them are about perspectives. So constitution and civilization, which everybody should know more about, and behavior. And then the 2 more skills are around biology and life and materials. They are the areas of innovation. So skills, perspectives, and innovations. So rather than teaching these 6 domains as 6 different subjects, we said, let's build 4 very interesting studios and teach 6 domains through these studios. So we divided our interested faculty members into 4 groups, and each of the group had members from these 6 domains. And we created 4 very interesting studios around grand challenges of the world as we stand today. So the first one was democracy and justice. A lot of friction, a lot of disruptions are happening around this democracy and justice. So it's a grand challenge that the world is facing today. It's not just an India problem, it's a global problem. The second studio is environment and climate change. Path mentioned 1.5 degrees centigrade. So this IPCC, which is the Intergovernmental Panel for Climate Change, where 2 authors from India were on the panel, and both of them work at Ahmedabad University. So they participated in design of this studio extensively. The third studio is neighborhoods. It's a very critical. So neighborhoods is a proxy to urbanization. and not literally neighboring countries, but it's more internal than external. And the fourth studio is water. So these 4 studios are not cast in stone. They will change from time to time. But we said that once we zero down on 4, we'll live with them for 3-4 years, and then maybe replace or tweak one of them as the world demands. So we are now building a new studio called Digital Human. It is likely to replace neighborhoods going forward, because the 3 other challenges are kind of still more getting more and more complex as we go. So this is the design. Now, how we teach. So each of these studios run for 4 weeks or a month, and students only do that. But it is delivered by faculty members from 6 domains. So 6 faculty members team teach a studio for a month. Who is the recipient? So generally we have sections of about 50 students. Sometimes it is 55, sometimes it is 45, but mostly it is about 50 students. And students from all the 25 majors are a part of that one section of 50. And there's a lot of interdisciplinarity everywhere. It's at the design stage, at the delivery stage, at the receiving end. It's interdisciplinarity everywhere. And there are a set of many activities that they have to do. These are half day, 1 day, 2 day activities, and they are designed in a way that by hitting the ground, they pick these domains and really apply all that they have learned in theory before going to do this activity. So one of my favorite examples is around the water studio. So Ahmedabad is divided in 24 wards for administrative purposes. So each class of 50-55 is divided in 24 teams, and they go to each one ward each. And while they go to the ward, what do they do by going there? So they collect a water sample, drinking water sample, and they also run a survey of 30-40 residents in that zone. Now for this, in the previous week, they would have trained on how to make a questionnaire, how to do sampling, how to collect water, how to do TDS testing. So all this has been done before they hit the ground and do this activity. So they go there and they collect this sample. Sometimes they face uncomfortable situations. Sometimes they say, I don't want to participate in the survey. But they have a target that you have to gather so many forms. So once they do this in half a day, they come back to the university. They go to the biochemistry lab, do a TDS testing, punch it in. They enter all the survey responses into the computer, apply simple statistical techniques which they have been taught in the previous week, make a presentation, and then on day 2, they present it to their class. And this day and a half, they come up with very interesting inferences. And it cuts across all the domains. So 2 skills, communication and data science, is applied. They learn the art of communication and they go out. They have been taught that what can happen when you go and ask to people and respond to my question. Because they are all basically demographic questions, number of people in the family, age profile, income profile, education background. After that, they present. So during presentation, they say water is a gender issue. So obviously the class, it's a very open environment. So not faculty member, but students are bound to ask that they think so. And the answer there generally is that when we went to a particular ward, drinking water was not delivered through a tap. In fact, there was a tanker that came 3 kilometers away, and somebody had to go and fetch that water. And usually this happens at 10 o'clock in the morning. And it is always the girl child who has to do that. And because the girl goes to fetch water, she drops out of the school. So water is a gender issue. They said water is a political issue as well, because if the corporator is from the ruling government, is in the ruling party, the availability of water is better. And if it is other way around, the availability of water is very bad. They say water is also a economic issue, because higher the income, better is the quality of water. Lower the income, the quality of water is not as good. So they apply all the 6 domains in this 1.5 2 day activity, and there are 15-20 more such activities across these 4 studios. So from being very exam oriented in the school, because there's a lot of pressure to perform and get good grades, so they're very faithful to the coursework. And students from different cities, small cities, big cities, towns, urban, rural, all boards, large schools, small schools, they come together, and really it's a new life that they start experiencing, from a very small class of 28, 30, 35, where they've spent last 12 years and they know 100% about 100% of them, to a very new place where they mix with different students, develop very rich perspectives, develop critical thinking skills. Because when you tell these kids to present, they really think hard. They really anticipate that which are the 5, 10, 20 questions that can come while I'm presenting. So it really ups the whole game of how they think, how they apply theory to practice, how they make things happen on the ground, and then at the end of the day, how do they make a convincing presentation. And they go through 4 such studios, and it doesn't happen in one shot. It happens in the beginning of the year and then end of the year. So the first year is book-ended by the foundation program. 2 studios in the first 2 months and 2 studios in the last 2 months of the first year. So it is very interesting, and most of the students like it. And some students feel that, I am here to become a computer engineer, and why do you make me do this stuff? So they start with reluctance, some of them, but at the end of the day, at the end of the year, they do appreciate the interdisciplinary thinking that they have developed because of these 4 studios.
Thank you so much, Professor Patel. It is so important for them to make connections of almost everything around them. And I'm sure this develops, skills and perspectives beyond, not just for the professional space, but also for their personal space as well. I'll go over to Bhavya, and taking forward the same conversation, what was your experience, Bhavya, in the foundation program? How did it shape your academic confidence as well as worldview? You must have done multiple of these studios by now.
Yeah, so these foundation studios are limited to the first year. So I did the 3 because I was in the COVID batch. And Professor Patel is right about not liking the studios, because when I entered in the beginning, the first week, I was doing water, and I was really concerned, why am I doing water when I'm come here for political science? So that was there. But eventually, by the end of water, because like Professor Patel said, water really was ground, it really did the ground laying work for my education. It really made me see that a simple thing like water really has a lot more complexity than would be visible by the word water. So what foundation really did was, because from a CBSE student, I've been used to read political science book, economics books, and read all these books and take them as face value, not question them, not think about them critically. And whatever the authors of these books have written, whatever these websites I've read in my school, newspapers I've read, all of that I have taken at face value. I've never really sat down and just thought, who is the person writing? Why are they writing? What other views exist apart from the thing I'm reading? So what foundation really did for me would question everything that I would read after that foundation ends. Everything that I read, everything I see, I try not to take it at face value and think a little more critically about it, little more deeply about it. And this really, I think, was a result of foundation program, not just water, but specifically democracy and justice and climate change, because it really exposed me to how, because the climate change studio is named Climate Change and Justice. So it really brings in the question, like, who is the one facing the problem of climate change? Is it really a universal issue, or does it? And think about like things like very just general things like solar panels. Solar panels doesn't seem bad to anyone, right? It's the best technology out there. It's good for everyone. But that studio makes you question simple things like that. It will make you question what is the land it is getting planted on all these solar panels. Is the land empty, or did it belong to someone else? So these kinds of questions rose up when I did these under these foundational programs. I think for a school student, it was really revolutionary that I was engaging in debates about very set things. Caste reservations were obviously bad. Like, who would think they're not bad? But these foundation studio made me question: is the reality like? Is it really that simple? Gender issues, like very simple household issues. Are they that simple that they look like? Are they more complexity? What's the history behind? So I think I have a lot to say about foundation program. And one thing that I've seen, they have changed a lot too, because after every semester, we are forced to fill feedback. If we are not filling feedback, they won't show us our grades. So I think that feedback got into the loop, and eventually now the foundation programs look a bit different. And I can talk to my juniors, and their life has way more stuff that we suggested should have in the foundation program. So that's one good thing that has happened over the time. The other thing that I learned from foundation program was just to read and write. Because as a linguistic student, I never really wrote essays per se, original essays specifically. I usually did a lot of web scraping. I went on to Google and looked at Wikipedia, and eventually copy pasted here and there, changed a few sentences. CBSE, in all honesty, never taught me how to write. But what this foundation is that it will make you write. Like, you have to eventually learn how to academically write. You have to submit reflections after every class. You have to submit essays, and there's a policy of plagiarism in a university. Anything they detect, you fail, which is so essential to academic life that it took time to become part of our journey. But foundation really made us um, see how important it is, and why it is important also, right? Because I told you how critically we are looking at all these things that we are reading. So at the same time, when we are writing, we need to think more about what we are copy pasting. We can't just take other people's stuff. Now we are thinking to include our own views. Reading was another thing, like I said, because reading has it was boring most of the time, because we were not really reading stuff out of the books that we were provided, right? So one thing that foundation also did was open me up to a lot more um, viewpoints. Just the amount of people I could engage in, one, the faculty itself, and second, just the amount of people in the classroom, because students are not really from my major. So nobody was as fixated on the ideas that I had from my CBSE schooling about economics, how trade works, or how I don't know, simple things like demand and supply works. So new perspectives came, and majority of my friends that I have were also from these foundation programs. So there's a lot of things that I gained from foundation programs. And even though we gave a lot of feedback, I have only good things to say about that right now. Because it really did give me, if for anyone coming from a school, it's transformation. It genuinely will not let you sleep for the first few weeks, because you'll be like, why? And then eventually you will settle in and realize that this really is the backbone of academic education, of something. If you right now I'm writing a thesis on trees, and I can't simply write about how trees are all good, because I've not been taught to think like that. I have been taught to critically question things. So, and that started with foundation programs.
This is amazing, Bhavya. I think, Bhakti has posted something in the chat. Professor Parag and Parth, that is for you. All counselors need to have a summer program on interdisciplinary learning. In the interest of time, I'm going to go into certain nitty-gritties. So the last round of questions for all three of you. The first one is for you, Parth. Uh, this is directly from a counselor's office. We want to, send students. Tell us, do you observe certain patterns in applications that trigger an automatic decline? That, okay, we don't want the students. How can we as counselors support our students in crafting genuine applications, a well-aligned application where the student can find a best fit in Ahmedabad University? So if you can take us straight into the application process and tell us, what is an automatic decline? How do we support the students?
So, actually, we don't have any automatic declines, fortunately. There could be, there could be people who will get declined at some point of time. I think what we're looking for, and Bhavya actually put this very interestingly, and I want to sort of reiterate and it's not just Bhavya. I've talked to, hundreds of students who have interacted with. Actually, the idea of education should be to help them to think and to question. And I was just listening to him, and the number of times he said that it has made me question is very interesting. And I think that's what we're looking for even in the application. We're looking for their ability to engage with their own past. If they have been able to explain that to us, it helps us to say, okay, this is the kind of student we want. We want a student who's willing to invest in their own learning. Okay, and I keep saying this, and I have to say this for different audiences also, but we are not a place like a Kuch Kuch Hota Hai college. If people are looking for that, don't apply here. And of course, I've been told by the younger people that I have to talk about student of the year when I say it to the younger generation. But that's not the kind of college life that they'll get here. Here, you'll have to work hard. You'll have to engage. There's a lot of fun. There are 21 clubs. There's time off on Wednesdays to engage with that. But I think, one of the things I want to say is in the application process, what we are looking for is genuineness. But at the same time, we are very aware that, AI is used by most kids, okay, to fill up their personal statement. But in spite of that, we have a personal interaction where we engage with that, whatever their field, even if it's AI. Okay, fine. You did go to the internet, you did get a statement for yourself. Now, can you talk about it? Right? So we are not saying, okay, because this is, and we do a plagiarism check, but at the same time, we will not necessarily say no. Of course, if it's completely ridiculous, then they may get a reject, because we've had students who had completely ridiculous statements. And sometimes when they've had completely ridiculous statements, we've called them and asked, why did you fill such a completely ridiculous statement? And that helped us to understand that, they had just had a different perspective. And then we called them. So I think while we want to engage with them and we want to, academics matters. So, if there's a student who's got, let's say, 50% in 10th, 50% in 11th, 50% in 12th, they'll probably get an immediate reject. Now, what that threshold is varies from year to year, but there could be, but at the same time, if they think they have something interesting and special, they can point it out to us. So I'll stop here because I know there are lots of other, and I want people to have, more opportunity. But I do want to say one more thing. There are lots of scholarships available for people who cannot afford to be here. So I think that's a big one. And I think 80% of the students who applied for need-based financial aid have got it. So I think, it should not be that people who cannot afford to should not apply. I think we want them to apply.
Amazing, amazing. Working in a school where so many students are on financial aid, that's a really good thing to hear, Parth. My last question to Professor Patel is, we hear a lot about, the university's international student office, the global collaborations that you have. This is a very rare thing in Indian institutions. We are looking at, the whole of India here. Um, how does this internationalization impact the academic outcomes and peer learning on campus? Um, it would be really interesting for us to know because it doesn't exist in the ecosystem that we have in majority of the universities.
So, see, internationalization is something which is very necessary uh, to create an engaging academic environment, and therefore we believe that it needs a serious effort, and therefore we set up this Office of International Affairs, and there's a very capable person as a director of this office. and she worked with Fulbright office for a while, at least for 4 years, and very credible, very, very well connected. So the agenda of Office of International Affairs is to create more academic opportunities for faculty members and students alike. There are so many foreign universities coming to India, spending few days in few cities, and it is very important to tap on those opportunities and get them on campus. And one visit leads to several possibilities. So the smallest possibility could be a very casual meeting over lunch between two faculty members of from similar domain and research interest, ending up working together on some project. And it happened. I've seen at least a couple of dozen such successes because of the efforts of the Office of International Affairs. Second thing is they have to create more opportunities of internationalization for students. So it comes through five funnels. One is the exchange programs. So student exchange programs are very critical. And they are very hard to come by, because sometimes, as a 16-year-old university, when we wish to have an exchange program with a 300-year-old university, it doesn't happen easily. And those who want to do an exchange program with us, probably we are reluctant there. So a good match is very hard to find, and Office of OIA basically bolsters that effort. And these are very keenly contested because they are mostly reciprocal arrangements. So when our students go to Rennes School of Business in France or HSC in St. Petersburg, or there are at least 14, 15 such exchange opportunities. They don't pay any fees. They continue paying fees to the home institution. They only have to take care of their boarding and lodging. Because the cost is so low, because they are reciprocal, that we agree to exchange 30 students over 3 semesters or 5 semesters or 3 years. And, students come back transformed. Just spending 4 months in another university, in another country, we see a definite improvement in more ways than one. And, their thinking changes, their articulation changes, their level of participation changes. The great thing is, whenever they come back, they come with straight A's. Some of them also won awards like the best international student of the semester, of the year, among several other international students. So they do well, and it spreads very positively among the student community. Then some of the programs have immersion as a requirement. For example, our family business and entrepreneurship program has immersion as a requirement. So OIA does create immersion opportunities, and while most of them take it as a requirement, it is open to everyone. So, if 60 students go to 2 different countries on 2 different prestigious campuses for 2-week immersion, 45 of them may be FBE, and 15 of them may just take it because it is available to them. So they create several such opportunities. Then we have certain, we run this global modular course with Wharton School. Now we have done 3 editions of it. So Wharton runs these GMCs in 17 cities. One of them is in Ahmedabad with Ahmedabad University. So they come here for a week, and we have designed a program called Gandhi to Globalization, Operations and Business in India. And 25 students from Wharton come. Half of them are core MBA students, and the remaining half are executive MBA. They call it WEMBA, Wharton Executive MBA program. And we create an organic environment for them by adding 15 of our students to that group, so that they understand aspirations and young people in India, what they aspire to do, and where is the economy going. People talk about this demographic dividend and the upcoming consumption boom for 10 to 30 years. So there's a significant India interest. So while this is designed for Wharton students, Ahmedabad University students also benefit from that. So several such initiatives keep taking place, and it doesn't stop there. Many of our students apply for graduate programs overseas. So they can go with their application to OIA to get guidance. And they do seminars, they host university delegations. Recently, they did a fair for 20 French universities who came on campus and showcased their programs. So many events keep going on, and the idea is to deepen internationalization as an aspect of academic experience.
Thank you, Professor Parag. I think this is a really, really important aspect of it, especially keeping the current world scenario in mind. It's important not only look, the world through the lens of teaching and learning, but also through cultural exchange, cultural immersion. It really develops you in ways which are very unique and different, and hence you become more open-minded. You become more, accepting of people from different, parts of the world and not just from India. There's one more question for you, Professor Parag, in line with what we just talked. Jay has asked, are there any transfer programs, 2+2, India and abroad?
No, we don't have any twinning program as of now. And I think it's the same thing, right? The ones with whom we want to twin are not open to twinning, and the ones that are queuing up to twin, we don't want to twin.
Thank you so much.
Because
And now,
we don't want to be a feeder to some of the colleges out there. And we believe that our students do adequately well to open the door of any great institution overseas. As we speak, our students are studying at Johns Hopkins, they have gone to London School of Economics, they have gone to Columbia's 2-year core MBA program, so they have gone to Yale, so they have phenomenal outcomes. But we are very choosy so far as twinning is concerned. And probably that's why it's not there.
I think that's the right approach as well, slow and steady, but high quality. And the placements at the graduate level actually are a reflection of that. My last question goes to Bhavya. Bhavya, what advice would you offer to students considering Ahmedabad University, especially the ones who are kind of trying to choose between traditional or ranking-focused institutions? Ranking are a big deal with, young people. So what advice would you give to them? This is my last question to you. And after that, we are going to open the floor to all our, people over here, counselors, or anybody who wants to ask a question. Yeah, go ahead, Bhavya.
Okay, I'll try to keep my answer short. So it's difficult to not consider rankings when you're a student in your school, because you don't have a standard, like you don't know how to compare universities. So when what I realized is I tried it because I was a COVID batch. I could just go into a different university. I went to a ranking university, realized that was not for me, and then eventually found out about Ahmedabad University. So for me, it worked out perfectly. But for someone who can't enroll in multiple universities, I think what now I would ask them to do is look at the faculty list of the university. This is what we have been suggested to do for masters and PhD. Especially for PhD, you go and you look around universities around the world and find one professor you want to be mentored under, right? So I would recommend similar things for undergrads also, that they go to university websites and look at all the professors and look at, regardless of whatever they're interested in, just look at interest areas, because there's so many professors looking at so many different research areas. Maybe even if they find like 5 of them which strike them so much that they want to be part of the university. I think students want to go in a place where they know people are thinking like them or have some association to the ideas they have. So it's a good way to start. They can start with looking at the university faculty profile. University's website has a great list. It has all the professors, their education, their research area, which is very important. Second, I would say that they look at all the courses available in the university, because what is better to show what a university does than its courses, right? So there are course lists in the university website. Students should definitely look at all the courses, because names of these courses will strike them. They can judge, because a lot of students ask us before coming to the university, can they do AI here? Can they do philosophy here in a particular domain? Philosophy, like Buddhist philosophy, right? So all these questions could also be answered by looking at the course list. One thing they will realize in traditional university, usually the courses is like international relations, political science, and econ, demand supply econ. These courses are not, these are set things that they have been doing for at least last decade, century, and they have not changed a lot, which is reflective in their course structures and course outlines. But when you look at our list, you will realize that these courses are adapted to the current problems. So even AI can be used in to solve a urban problem, right? So these course list will give them an idea of what their university is teaching, and if they are interested in learning any of that. Even if a word in that thing strikes that will be helpful. The third problem that I had with a lot of universities which are um, traditional and ranking, the one I went to was the culture in the university. I think our culture is set by the leadership, and it's ingrained, and it's not like there are a lot of regressions, a lot of like there's not a lot of room to adjust if the culture is already rigid and set in stone. So talking to students, looking at Ahmedabad University's culture on from just its website also would definitely help. Think how students are treated here. Are they treated as someone who are supposed to bow down to everyone, who are supposed to follow 7,000 rules all the time, or they have given more liberty? They have a liberty to choose what to wear, liberty to choose who to be with, liberty to stay in the campus for the entire night if they wish to, things like that. Liberty, I think this idea of giving student some responsibility, some power is inbuilt in the university. Academically, Parth sir and Parag sir both have talked about how we can choose our courses, but more than that, it's also built in our co-curriculars, in our just existence in this campus, because which is very important. I don't think a lot of students at the age of school realize that it's not just the infrastructure which makes the university a great place to be in, but what happens inside that infrastructure. I'm sure if anyone comes to this university infrastructure, there's nothing too bad to say about it. I think, and there are other places which have similar good infrastructure, but what is going on in that place also matters a lot. I think that is important. If you go to a traditional university, you will have rules like, I have experienced this particular rule that you can't walk with a girl along with you, or you can't say have long hair. So these kind of rules become restrictive for someone who just came out of a school. Why do you want to go to another school from a school, right? So thinking about that, I think, is also important for students. I think it's a very funny thing to think about when I'm graduating, because I have come to realize there are broader things in that. But for someone who is just entering from school, I think these things matter a lot. They matter hugely, and this university offers more just expression of oneself, freedom to do that. So that is also important in my opinion.
Lovely answer, Bhavya. The freedom to choose, to have a voice, something very small, like, I want to keep a hairstyle, which is something which is unique to me. That is also as important as having the ability to choose what course I want to study, having the choice to make a change in my decisions. All these things are really significant because university is a 4-year journey, right? It's your life for the next 4 years. You need to be happy. You need to fit in. You need to make your community, build your relationships. So university is actually so much beyond, what we see on papers. Those were really amazing suggestions to give. Um, so I'm going to close my, rapid fire now, and I open it up to, all the people on this, call to ask any questions that they have for Parth or Professor Parag or for Bhavya. Anything that anybody wants to ask, you can unmute and ask as well.
Yeah, hi, Kanchan here. Thank you so much for this informative session, and I really look forward to visiting the campus when I'm in Ahmedabad next. I just asked on the chat box also, when Bhavya was talking about the foundation program, I'm a counselor where I counsel students from tier 2, tier 3 cities who are not even, what do you call it, as vocal and as good in their English communication skills even. So when we put them through this foundation, you may find a lot of students who would have that performance anxiety and who would not be able to so rapidly unlearn what they have been traditionally thought about, and in that kind of so when these after these programs are taken into consideration, they may feel really very unsettled. So do you have some kind of emotional support for them, or any kind of customized tailored solutions where you help them to stay and retain back in the university and not give up? Because nowadays Gen Z, they're like, if things don't go well for a week, I don't want to be here. They'll give the first next call is to the parent, I want to go back. So do you have a lot of dropouts, or do you have cases where they want to quit and there are certain ways that you help them retain and understand that this is going to be helpful for them in the long run?
So I can.
Yeah, I just replied to your message. I don't know whether it's a private reply or.
No, I think she can see it. But let me take us short at it. So I think I think the as Professor Patel said, the dropout is not so much for the foundation program, and the foundation program as a it has a certain way of engaging with people. There are teaching assistants there. They talk to them, and I think most of these things are about expectations and being able to talk about it. That's one. The second is also there is a support system available. There are counselors. There is a helpline, and we also have something called a circle of care for each student. So we think a lot. We did a lot of thinking about the transition from school to college, and this circle of care actually has a faculty advisor, and they also have two student mitras for about 20 students. And they form a group, and this group actually stays as a group throughout all the 4 years. Often students have told me that that circle of care friends that they made in the first year have stayed their friends for all the 4 years. And that creates, because everybody's coming from different places, and therefore that becomes, so the student mitra is the first call that you make, saying, okay, I don't know where to get my ID done, I don't know what is going on, I have no understanding of why I'm going to a biology lab when I'm doing arts, or you know how do I negotiate with this. And as I said, it's only a pass or a no pass in the foundation program. So the requirement is more that you participate and you work on understanding these issues. There is no exam that you need to clear to say that you've, because it's perspective building really. And then there are counselors. There is also English support program. So there is a communications courses that you can go through. So we now have roughly, I would say, 80 to 100 students who are on scholarship who actually come from different domains, even rural areas. And what we've seen is, as Professor Patel has written also, some of them drop out because of health issues. Some of them drop out because of not being able to cope in a city, or not being able to cope in a different city. But mostly people are not leaving because they encountered the foundation program. In fact, most of them after the foundation program, and that's why I take you keep if you come visit and talk to these students, you'll realize they will tell you that they have built that perspective. They have now, also the way it's designed is 6 people teach the foundation program, 6 different professors. So they say, okay, from our discipline, how does this help you in solving this problem? So as Professor Patel talked about water, there's also a chemical engineer who will tell you what kind of new techniques are being used to keep water clean in reservoirs. So different people come saying how to build different perspectives around a particular complex problem. And the students are also put in groups in a way where they are talking to different people. So, idea of diversity is built right in the beginning, and that helps reduce the expectations that they have from each other because they're working together. But this is always, it's good to say all these things, but as I said, there are counselors. Sometimes students do go to counselors, they talk to them, and many of them are able to resolve these issues. So we don't have a lot of dropout because of the foundation program. There are independent issues which lead to some dropouts, and they, as 2 to 3% always drops out, but they don't drop out after. It's usually happens in the first few days itself, and a lot of it has to also do with CUET results coming late and people wanting to go to Delhi University or some other university. It's got nothing to do with us. Sometimes it's just I want to study for IAS or I want to study for CA, and this is too rigorous for me. I want to take a class. I don't want to attend. This is actually a bigger challenge for us than the foundation program itself. But we do get even that, I'm an engineer. Why am I going to a community and talking to people? But I think over a period of time, we've set those expectations and people understand and learn how to do it.
Thank you so much, Parth. I think
Thank
mental
you.
health has become such an important, conversation. It may not just be the foundation program, but just fitting into a different environment, different people coming from a different context altogether. Transition is always very challenging, and especially more so for younger people and teenagers. One last question before we close this session. We've already gone much beyond our time. So one last question, anybody, before we close? Okay, I think, amazing session. All the questions have been answered. Parth, Professor Patel, Bhavya, do you want to say something in the end, just as your closing statement before we, go ahead and close the session?
Only one thing. So your website is 500,000 words, but it doesn't do justice to who we are. So please visit the campus, spend a day with us, come unannounced if possible. I think that will change your perspective, or at least you'll go back with the right perspective.
True.
Okay, I'll just say that having been to 50 to 80 universities around the world. Okay, we are Ahmedabad University is very unlike a university you've known, and I think the only way you can experience it is by talking to the students. So talk to the students and you'll realize that there are many things here which are so different. For example, our attendance policy is a very interesting one. It's a policy which is a progressive policy which says if you get below 80% attendance, you lose your grade drops. So it encourages people to attend, and we believe that attendance will lead to learning. It is not that exam leads to learning. So the exam is not the only thing, and actually many courses will not even have an exam. They'll have continuous assessment. So if you don't attend, you're going to be in trouble. So I think it's how these are designed. They're designed over a lot of time, when we sort of have built these structures.
Thank you so much, Parth. Now that there'll be pressure on you, we can see all the messages which say that you need to plan a retreat at AU for TRC.
Sure.
Bhavya, something you want to say before we go in and do the group picture? Thank you so much, Professor Patel, Parth, and Bhavya. Bhavya, last few words before we take the selfie. Not the selfie, picture.
No, I think I've said enough already about the university. Right now it's beautiful. I think you should really, this is the perfect time. It's not hot, it's not cold. If you plan to visit, right time to do it. Right.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So we come to a close. I've learned so much. I'm really excited to visit the campus. So thank you so much for whatever you are doing. And Bhavya, thank you for coming over and giving us so much of your time, at a time when I'm sure you're winding up things at the university. You must be wanting to meet your friends or do something else. So thank you so much for your time. Yeah, it's done. Let's do a picture before we close.